Hello and welcome to Rednets, the official podcast of Empire of the Kop. A nervy 1-0 win we're going to dissect against West Ham here today. And helping us do that, of course, we have, as usual, Peter Kenny-Jones, and we've got a special guest here today, Doug Horne from the Dugout Football Channel. How are you doing, Doug?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Farrell. Thank you very much for asking me this morning.
Nice. Your debut. Yeah.
I literally got yours this morning and I was like, I'm not doing anything. So it was a no-brainer. So thank you very much for having me. It is a pleasure.
No, you're very welcome. Glad to have you on board. And while I've got you, I'm just going to get your thoughts on that 1-0 win, because I thought it pretty much sort of epitomised the exact kind of win you sort of look back on at the end of the season. If we just turn out, we just pip City to the title, this is going to be one of those wins that you sort of look back on and go, this was absolutely critical.
You're 100%. I mean, we didn't play well, but we managed to get that early goal in the first half. Mane, very, very good finish it was as well. Time VAR call again. I was like, oh no, are we actually going to get another one chopped off? But thankfully not. And it's all about getting the results at the end of the day if you want to, win titles. And I think a 1-0 win, we don't do them very often. It's very, very good to do a 1-0 win. And we played ugly, but we got the result.
Absolutely. And of course, critical to that was Trent Alexander-Arnold got the assist. Had some digging from Robertson after the match about whether he intended it as a shot. But, at the end of the day, they count. It was critical. I want to also focus on the moment before that, because it was Keita's ball initially to Trent that sort of led to that moment. I think throughout the match, I think Keita had quite a good game, didn't he, Pete? Is there an argument to say that he's quietly enjoying the best season of his Liverpool career so far?
Yeah, but it's probably not a bad shout, to be fair. Yeah, I think obviously he's benefited a lot from Thiago being injured, which obviously no one wanted to see, and probably him included, but obviously got the nod for the Cup final, and then he's put in again against West Ham. Obviously, there were two massive games for us, and he impressed in both. I think maybe when we watched him, we expected they were going to be someone who beat five men and scored a goal. And although he's definitely got it in his locker, I think he's probably proven to be a bit more, maybe in the Wijnaldum mould of what he's been doing of late, closing down, putting tackles in, keeping the ball moving. As you say, it was the pass before the pass to create the goal is probably the one that gets the least attention, isn't it? And that's what he did against West Ham. And yeah, I've been impressed with him, and it's probably got his place nailed down. And we can't rely on Thiago, unfortunately. So if you're the fourth best midfielder in this team, you'll get a lot of games as well. So it's not a bad place for him to be in. And he's got to put off Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Oxlade-Chamberlain. There's a lot of competition in there. So if he can be the best of the rest, he'll play plenty of games this season.
You mentioned the C word there, competition. Obviously, this season, above all seasons for Liverpool, the depth has really shone through for us. As you said, Naby Keita coming in, been absolutely critical for us, and looks, if he can remain fit, I think will remain critical for the rest of the season. And going back to Trent Alexander-Arnold, because obviously we know we'll remember that assist for Sadio Mane's opener against West Ham, the winning goal. But of course, one other moment that sort of stuck out in the game was his goal line clearance after Pablo Fornals had lobbed Alisson. What did you make of that, Doug?
Yeah, I thought for all the world that was going to nestle in the back of the net. Fornals does everything right. It's just that it doesn't have enough pace on it to beat Alisson. But Trent, very, very good goal line clearance, and then I think there was another goal line sort of clearance after that as well. But it was nervy moments. West Ham played really, really well, and they were the only team that could potentially do the double over us. So it was nice to get that victory, knowing that we had a very, very difficult game against a very good side.
No, absolutely. It strikes me as a bit bizarre, because we look at sort of those obvious sort of moments of quality defending from Trent, and obviously he does a lot more than sort of goal line clearances, but we're still talking seemingly about his defensive capabilities. We all accept he's a world-class fullback going forward, and I think many Liverpool fans would also argue he's a world-class defender. Not many would agree with us, however, in that department piece. And certainly Gabriel Agbonlahor commented on this after Chelsea's game, and he was talking about Reece James's sort of level of defending, saying he would rather have Reece James as a defender than Trent Alexander-Arnold, although he did grudgingly admit, of course, that Trent is better going forward. But it astonishes me that we're still discussing Trent's defensive abilities. And where has this myth sprung from?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a joke, and it really obviously he comes in as a youngster into the team, and basically a position it wasn't his. He was centre mid when he came through. So for him to be put in at right back, he's basically learning the biggest games possible, I think. And everyone looks back to that United game, however many years ago that is, 3-4 years probably, and that's put against him. But I just think, obviously he's better going forward, but that doesn't mean he's a bad defender. They don't have to go hand in hand. And it's like when you go back to who do you prefer, Messi or Ronaldo? If you say he's good going forward, it doesn't mean he's terrible going back. It just means he's better at attacking. And it seems to be that you can't have one without the other. And he proved against West Ham with that goal line clearance, as you say, how good he was. And I don't think anyone in watching in a Liverpool point of view would say that they're worried too much about him. He gets tested a lot, but he doesn't have any cover on the right wing. Hendo dropped in when he can, but it's a lot of the time it's one-on-one defending that's hard. And for what he does going forward, for him to be as good as he is going back, we're more than happy to have him. And as Klopp says, he wouldn't be in his team if he couldn't defend. We've definitely got enough money, enough options, whatever, to get someone else if that's all he had. So, if he's not appreciated by England and every other fan, who cares really, as long as he's playing for us. And I think he's probably of the same opinion. He'll happily just play for Liverpool for the rest of his career, and everyone thinks he's terrible. He'll look at his winners' medals when he's retired and he'll have his own opinion.
Absolutely. You're spot on there with Klopp's comments, his latest presser, sort of talking about Trent's defensive abilities. We've seen him be ruthless when it comes to the fullback position. We've seen him be ruthless with every single part of this squad. Just look at sort of the upgrade on Alberto Moreno. Probably, best epitomises that sort of typical fullback of, decent going forward, but defensively a bit suspect. Doug, we spoke about this previously with Mick Moran of the Kopite, because he's convinced this all sort of stems from that game against United, where I think Rashford made Trent's life a bit of hell. It is admittedly that sort of one game where you'd probably argue is one of the weakest in Trent's career, but beyond that, there doesn't seem to be many moments that I can remember where Trent's defending has been particularly suspect.
No, I think it's a lazy argument that people say, Trent can't defend. But the thing is, for me, he's a very, very good player. No doubt about it. I think he is more sort of a right-sided midfielder sort of kind of player. But I think this whole thing about Trent can't defend is a complete and utter argument. I can't remember having a one-bad game ever since, and obviously I think it's his 16th assist this season in all comps, which is mental when you think about Trent. But it's just a lazy argument, and you get Parsons with he's like you had 99 fans comparing Wan-Bissaka to Trent. You've had Reece James being compared to Trent. Trent Alexander-Arnold is probably the best right back in the Premier League, probably the best right back, probably in world football right now. The amount of assists that him and Robertson have done this the last couple of seasons has just been extraordinary. So people are trying to get to their level.
Absolutely. We're very lucky to have, and as you mentioned there, 16 assists at this stage of the season to beat his prior total. Plenty of games left to better that, and we'll be wishing him all the best of luck with that. Elsewhere in the league, of course, Manchester City made an absolute mockery of their City rivals in Manchester United, beating them to the tune of 4 goals with only 1 goal in reply at the Etihad. It restores a 6-point lead over us. Of course, everyone needs to remember we're only realistically 3 points behind them, provided we win our game in hand. It does raise certain questions about the title race, though, Pete. In particular, if you look at sort of our records recently in terms of wins. I mean, looking at the last 15 games specifically in the league between both sides, City have won 13 out of 15. They've drawn and lost one against Southampton and Tottenham, respectively. On our end, we've won 12, drawn 2 draws, a loss. Pretty sort of impressive. And I suppose my first question for you is, are we, I struggle to use the word rivalry because they're not a traditional rivals for obvious reasons. But is this one of the more sort of exciting modern rivalries we are witnessing?
Obviously it is, I think Klopp's just said it then in this pre-Inter press conference, and it's ridiculous how good both teams are. They're pushing each other constantly, and as Klopp just said, they wouldn't be hitting the 90s points each season if they didn't have the other one breathing down the neck. So obviously it gets the best out of both of them, but one of them's going to have to lose. And I think it's been us more than it's been City, unfortunately, for the past few years. But both of them deserve to win a league title, but you both can't do it. So you just got to win every single game. That's why the pressure is ridiculous. And, you think watching it's hard, but you can imagine being any of those players, 1-0 against West Ham, there's 10 minutes to go, you're just dying that your pass doesn't get intercepted or go anywhere, because any tiny slip up, even a draw now, could hand the other team the league title. So it's high pressure situation, and all we can hope is that by us being the ones chasing, maybe there's a little bit less pressure on us. A 6-point gap probably is easier again, rather than knowing we have to win and all that. Obviously, the games will catch up, but having a little bit of a buffer in the games in hand probably takes a little bit of pressure off us. And it's just blow for blow, isn't it? You've just got to win every single match. And it's exciting for the neutral, probably not the United fans, because they're getting battered by both of us, and it's both their biggest rivals. But it's the biggest rivalry that you can have with a club that probably you don't really hate them, in the sense that they're a bit of an empty club. Maybe you'd rather hate a United or an Everton. They're probably easier to hate for us. But it's just an interesting rivalry, probably a bit like it was with Chelsea, although we weren't even as close. We just seemed to play them in every cup competition when it was Rafa and Mourinho. So yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with the rest of the season. And as long as Guardiola and Klopp are there, it's going to be like this, I think. And just fingers crossed we can get a couple more trophies over them, and we don't come out with just a one league and one Champions League under Klopp. And there's plenty of opportunity for us to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, we've already got the one piece of silverware in the bag, and going forward, it's looking interesting. You get past Inter Milan, fingers crossed. You then into the quarterfinals, get past even Nottingham Forest or Huddersfield. We'll get onto that, of course. But I mean, with both sides sort of keeping it pretty close, and we're in the sort of the not quite the dying stages of the second half of the season. Doug, is it looking sort of increasingly likely that this title race comes down to that sort of final match between the two sides at the Etihad, or do you think, can you foresee a few more sort of twists and turns?
I still think there's going to be twists and turns. I think Wolves have proved that they've been very, very good at home. I know they've kind of lost their way ever so slightly, but we struggled at Wolves, and City have still got to go to places like Palace, who made it very, very difficult for us. Wolves as well. So it's not over by any of the imagination. And I think if you look at our next, our March is very, very difficult by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, I think we've got Inter, we've got Brighton, we've got Arsenal, and then we've got either Nottingham Forest or Huddersfield. So, if we win our game in hand, it's down to 3 points. We just need to focus on ourselves. We need to focus on ourselves. Don't worry what City are doing. If they slip up, then absolutely fantastic. I was torn yesterday. I didn't want a Man United win. I didn't want a City win. I just wanted a draw. I think a draw would have been a much better result, because you don't want United getting top 4. You don't want City gaining on us either. So, but obviously that didn't happen because Man United just failed to turn up. So all I'll say is just focus on ourselves, just focus on what we're doing. And again, if City slip up, then fantastic.
Certainly, if Klopp has his way, we'll be absolutely focusing on ourselves one game at a time. That has been the mantra throughout the Klopp reign, and long may that continue. It's brought us plenty of success so far. Moving away from the Premier League, of course, we've got a big fixture against Inter Milan, the second leg of the round of 16. And we're welcoming our Italian visitors with a 2-0 win so far. What are your thoughts on this one, sort of, Pete? Because, I mean, their form's been a bit iffy since we won at the San Siro. They've had a win, a draw and a loss. The win coming as their most recent fixture. They beat the bottom-placed Serie A team to the tune of 5 goals. Lautaro Martinez got a hat-trick. Do you reckon this is going to be sort of a similar vibe to the San Siro where the subs come in handy, or is it going to be another sort of strong and quick start to the first half?
You know, they're going to be full of confidence. They've just scored 5 goals. Now, you said obviously the results have been a bit shaky, but you wouldn't want anything more than winning 5-0, and your striker who's been in the goal drought getting a hat trick, the other one grabbing a couple of goals. It's, exactly the confidence you'd need to go in and try and score a couple of goals. So it's going to be a test for us, but hopefully we can just get an early one and kill them. That would be the best way to do it, and I think that'll be the mantra as we always do. Really, I think on a big European night, the crowd will be up for it. I think it'd be stupid not to say just go and try and score the goal. And obviously, if they come out and get one next to the bit and makes it nervy, you still think, the worst bit you can do about these probably having the lead. It's in the back of your head. If we just can't play it as a normal game, we can probably beat them anyway. So I think that's the best way to treat it. And I'm sure that's what Klopp will be saying. We have got a 2-goal buffer, but let's just act like it's 0-0 again and try and get an early lead. And then hopefully they'll all be already going home in their heads before it's half time. And that's the best way we can do it. And the subs, hopefully, rather than to change the game, will be to rest players. And I look forward to, it's going to be a mad rest of the season, never mind rest of the month. But yeah, it's just all about probably just getting that first goal, and fingers crossed we should be able to do it. Although they were a good test against us. They're the away team this time, so it's up to us to stamp our mark on it. And yeah, fingers crossed it's enough to get in the quarters.
Do you think it'll be a tougher test going into this second leg, Doug?
I think it might be. I think it will be. But I think if Vidal starts, then I think he's probably one that you could probably say wind him up, because he'll just kick somebody at his pace. But yeah, I think Inter Milan winning 5-0 was massive for them. Obviously, they're going for their league title with AC Milan as well. But I do expect it to be a tough ask for them, because they're having to come to us. They're having to try and score 2. They're having to try and score maybe 3. We get an early one, then they have to get 3. They have to get and then they probably have to get 4 as well. I'm with Pete. If we can get an early goal, kill them off, then we can maybe go for 2 or 3. I think it's going to be a very, very good game. I'm looking forward to it as well. And I actually do think that if we get the early goal, I think the floodgates could potentially open.
Absolutely. I mean, we mentioned earlier sort of looking at silverware and our chances of getting silverware. And it's feasible that by the end of March, Pete, if we get past Inter, we'll be into the quarterfinals of the Champions League, get past one of the likes of Huddersfield and Nottingham Forest, we'll be into then the semi-finals of the FA Cup. And you can almost start tasting the silverware.
Yeah, well, that's the dream, isn't it? And I think normally it's billed as being a distraction of, what you want to win. But, I think we're quite lucky that I think we'll take any of them. Obviously, the FA Cup would be the worst one if we didn't win the others. But obviously, no one's going to say no to it if we come second in both the other competitions. But I think it's a good distraction to have, because no one will be thinking about City while we're playing Inter. It's all about that. And then the focus shifts again to the league. And then when we're in the FA Cup playing Nottingham Forest or Huddersfield, and it's going to be the same again. We're not going to be worried about the league. It's all about just trying to win each competition. And it's probably a good way for them all to mentally refresh and use the squad players. And if they play, you see what the Carabao Cup final was like. When you've got 5 subs in the other competitions that we don't have in the Prem, it gives them all a good chance, and they're all just going to be desperate to play any minutes. And we know what happened Barca in the semi-final when we had no Salah and no Firmino a few years ago. They all just need to be ready, and the best way for them to do that is playing games. And we've definitely got a lot of them coming up. So it'd be amazing if we won all 4. Everyone's getting a bit excited. There's a long way to go, but there's no reason why we can't. That's the reason we're getting excited, because it could really happen. So it's just about giving everyone a chance, keep mixing it up, and hopefully just keep getting the wins. And fingers crossed, we'll see how many trophies we got from the start of June.
No, absolutely. I mean, the Stars, for the most part, seem to have aligned in terms of various factors that have gone against us in prior seasons. Injuries being a big one. We look at sort of Liverpool squad now, and obviously there's been some major quality additions in recent years. The likes of Jota, the likes of Thiago, most recently Luis Diaz, who's absolutely excelled since moving mid-season from FC Porto. So now you've got people sort of looking at the squad without the injuries and going, actually, Liverpool do have a really good squad, perhaps not to the same extent as City, but we're not competing on a level playing field when it comes to resources. So with that in mind, it's rather impressive. But sort of looking at the potential team Klopp can play, Doug, it was quite a full strength team up against West Ham. Do you sort of see that starting again against Inter, Klopp going with a few changes?
It could go for a few changes. I mean, I think he said that everyone's almost available. I think Matip, Firmino and Thiago are back in training, which is massive as well. So, obviously Firmino was the game changer when he came on against Inter Milan a couple of weeks ago as well. And I think he'll probably start from the bench, but I think it'll be pretty much similar to the game the other week against West Ham. I think it'll be. I could probably see. I think Ali will definitely start. I think it'll be Trent. The question mark over Konate or Matip. If Matip's fit, Matip probably comes straight back in. Van Dijk, Robertson. I think midfield will be interesting. I think we could probably see Fabinho. I think Henderson will play. I think Henderson's a big game player for us anyway. Has Keita done enough to warrant a start? Yeah, I think he has. I'd keep the same midfield. And then probably, I think it'll be the same again, probably Diaz, Mane and Mo Salah. And I hate the fact that they're going on it, Mo, who didn't have a very good game against West Ham, but I fully expect him to bounce back, and I fully expect him to maybe score on tomorrow.
It's the benefit of having that forward line, though. We always say we don't need all three to score at once, game per game. The beauty of it is that, if one of the likes of Salah or Mane or Diaz doesn't score, one of the others will. That's the benefit of having a world-class forward line. Never mind then the options that you have then on the bench. The likes of Jota, the likes of Firmino, as you brightly pointed out, was an absolute game changer when he came on against Inter Milan at the San Siro. How about you, Pete? Can you see any surprises there, or do you reckon it's going to be pretty predictable?
I think Hendo played a lot of the last couple of games. I think it's possible he can be rested, and I don't think he'd put Joel Matip straight back in just because we know what he's like, and it's better protecting him. But I do think he'll go pretty much full strength. It's hard to know who he might drop. I think maybe Jota might get a start as well because he's been back in fitness, and we've had the same three for a couple of games. But it's not going to be weak at all. And as we said, we've got 5 subs in there, haven't we? So ideal Wales, we can use all 5 of them at half time with 5-0 up. So that'd be the best way to do it. So we'll see what happens. But maybe Tsimikas as well could maybe be in a sneaking chance if how confident Klopp is. It depends. But it's going to be a strong team, and as long as we've got Van Dijk, Fabinho, and Salah, I think you can probably rotate the people around them, and we should be okay with Brighton coming up on Saturday. We just need to make sure we win both games, and Klopp will know how to manage that, and it's just about getting the right amount of minutes into everyone's legs, and hopefully Thiago and Bobby will be back not too long after that. So yeah, fingers crossed we'll have a full strength team for as many games as possible.
Absolutely, and with that 1-0 win against West Ham, we've got one hell of piece of momentum behind us going into the rest of the season, which will hopefully be of advantage. While I've got you, it is time, of course, for the score predictions. Now, you've gone big a few times recently, but are you feeling a bit more measured, or are you just going to stick to your guns and you're going to go for a big win at Anfield?
It all depends on the first goal, I think. I can't predict the future that way, but I think I am going to predict the future and say that we're going to score early, kill them, and I don't think it's going to be loads because I think we're going to take a lot of them off. But I'll say 3-0. And it'll be a convincing 5-0 in aggregate. So I've still got behind numbers in there somewhere. But 3-0, and we'll all be laughing off to the pub after the match.
That sounds good to me. How about you, Doug?
I'm going to go 2-0. I think we get an early goal. I think we'll be able to see them off, and I think we'll get another early one in the second half to kill it off. I'm going 2-0.
Oh, you always make it difficult for me. I genuinely can't see them scoring at Anfield, but just for the sake of offering something different, I'll go for a 3-1. Martinez will get one. I mean, he looked a bit sort of scared of Van Dijk at the San Siro, so I'm hoping for a repeat of that again today. Not today, sorry, against Inter Milan. So we'll be looking forward to that. Doug, before we send you off on your merry way, anything you'd like to sort of share? Anything exciting projects coming up you'd like to tell the fans?
I don't have anything really exciting coming up, but it has been an absolute pleasure to join you and Pete for the first time, and hopefully many more appearances, hopefully as well. But no, thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
No, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. It's been nice having you on. And well, that's been us for today. We'll be hoping for another big win against Inter Milan to see us through to the quarterfinals and keep that dream of a quadruple going. For now, it has been Peter Kenny-Jones. We've had Doug Horne from the Dugout Football Channel. And of course, Rick has been working hard behind the scenes in a producing role. And I've been your host, Farrell Keeling. Thanks for now. We've been the Red Nets.